Hey, you! Welcome back to Graphic Designers React. Today we got another set of NFL logos. Let's get into it.
Okay, so today we have the Detroit Lions. Yeah, they started in 1934. Before that, they were the Portsmouth Spartans.
Wow. I can see why they changed it.
Yeah, 1934, when they moved to Detroit, they decided to change the team to the Lions to kind of coincide with the Detroit Tigers, which is the MLB team there. It looks like something you'd see in a comic book strip, I feel like.
Really though, yeah.
Yeah, they switched it up. They changed to something more simple, and to me, it feels like something that resembles more of like a car logo
For Motor City.
After that, they changed their logo again. So they kind of rebranded to this more emblem logo, and they had it for a long time until they kind of updated it and just gave it some more details.
I'm glad they did.
Yeah, I actually like the details a lot.
Yeah, it's weird to have like a logo that's just a silhouette with no detail. Obviously, you know it's a lion because of their name. At the same time, that could be a crazy horse.
It's true, yeah.
One thing that I really find interesting about the Detroit Lions is they call their blue Honolulu blue.
Huh.
They had one of their original football players kind of come up with the color scheme. They kind of laid out a few different ones, but that blue color has kind of become pretty iconic for this team. I mean, obviously you can see they've used that blue color for a long time. That's probably the one thing that's lasted the longest. The logo though, I feel like is, as far as like this kind of mascot emblem logo, it is something that I feel like is kind of cool, just the sense that it's like the whole body of a lion rather than just the head.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a lot of detail to it, which is kind of interesting. I think still just like a first glance at it compared to that previous one, you can definitely tell it's a lion.
There's a couple of things I'm not a huge fan of. Like I don't like the paw touching the mouth, just having that arm come down a little bit, that leg come down a little bit would be better. Gray is an interesting color to work with, but I think, because like, for example, if you have that gray background and you have that blue, I feel like it wouldn't pop very well. So you have to have the white.
Yeah, it's a little bit lighter tone of a blue. It's not like really dark that would contrast really well against the silver. It's
not a logo that I think stands out comparatively to other logos. I do like the fact that you brought up the full body scale of the lion, and that tail does help a little bit with it balancing it out. However, I think I'm gonna give this a 6.
6? Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking somewhere closer around 8. It kind of resembles something of like a motor car or like a car emblem. I think as far as like it being a logo for Detroit represents them pretty well, so I'm going with an 8.
I'm gonna go 8 as well. I think it's a good representative logo. I'd like the gray too. I think that definitely makes it feel more like a car badge.
Okay, moving on to their branding. Just some of their word marks that they've had in the past along with their most current one. I feel like that one in the middle kind of has a little bit more personality to it, especially with like the L being a little bit larger and coming across the I, and kind of the shape of that I also matching the L. They also have these really sharp kind of points coming out of the word mark that give you the feeling of like a lion's mane. And their new one to me is pretty on brand with a lot of what we've seen these teams moving on to. Kind of a typical really blocky typeface with just some sharp serifs.
It is interesting, all the like edges match up though, like
yeah,
together.
They do match up really well. I think it still looks really good while still being a custom font. The top one I don't like. It makes no sense.
It's a saloon font. It's cool.
Yeah, but what does the West have to do with the lion?
I don't know what the West has to do with
around the East Coast.
Yeah.
A lot of their branding nowadays is tied to like grit and kind of like a blue collar kind of vibe as far as like Detroit City goes. You know, a lot of people work in car manufacturers and very much a blue collar city. So they try to add some grit, and they also use a lot of like lion imagery. You can kind of see behind that image on the left, there's like a lion in the background with their stadium there. And then one thing that's also interesting that I've seen a lot in their branding is the stretched lettering. So that one on the right, kind of see that lettering behind it is super stretched out, and I've kind of seen that in a few of their stuff.
Typically it's a big no-no stretching fonts like that. You usually want to find a font that's already stretched. Definitely don't want to be stretching fonts too often. I think it works really well for that specific ad.
This is some of their badges they've used for kind of some of those anniversaries or commemorative. But yeah, this team's been around a long time. I kind of thought that it was interesting that they used that old of a logo. I know that like the stripes they use on the 90 season is, yeah, kind of referring to like stripes they put on like race cars. Another part of their branding they've been using recently is like all fight, all heart, all us, all grit. Yeah,
Cool.
kind of cool. Just for them to have like some kind of saying to like tie to the team, I think can help branding and kind of help people relate a little bit more to the team.
I do find it interesting that for a team called the Lions, they are using a color blue. Typically with a team that's like the Lions, it's going to be like a yellow or an orange thing. So I find that very unique, and I think it sets them apart really well.
I actually like it a lot. I think the blue works very well. I think they do a good job of their use of color with that blue against the grays and the whites. I'm gonna give it a 7.
I think I'll give it a 7 as well. I like how unique the fact that it's a team called the Lions and they're using blue colors instead. I do think it's very difficult using grays with that light of a blue.
I want to give this closer to like a 6.
Okay.
I think with some of their other things that I kind of found about the team as far as them, like their stadium's called like Ford Stadium. On their jerseys, they kind of use some stuff that's inspired by like Ford Mustangs.
That's what that blue is the Ford blue.
All right, moving on to their uniforms. And this is something that I actually was able to find a lot of information about. And what's also kind of interesting is in this kind of display of their uniforms, they actually have, I know the first game they played this season against the Packers, which happened very recently, they actually wore all white. Cool. And on their helmets too, they do lean into that racing stripe. So they have that going down the center of the helmet. Yeah, and they even have names for their different jerseys. So their home jersey they call One Pride, which kind of leans a little bit into that lion branding, you know, like a pack of lions, they call it the Pride or something. The away jersey is the 313, which is the area code for Detroit.
Oh, that's cool.
And then their all black alternative jersey they call the Motor City Muscle.
Ooh.
They have a all blue helmet with a black logo on the side. They stitch Motor City on the back of the neck. Yeah, and it's hard to beat something that's all black like that. It'd be interesting to see how often they use this. I want to say that like the all blue jersey is pretty iconic to this team. So they've kind of kept that running all these years. And then the stripe that they have like on the sleeve, on the pants, and on the helmet actually refer to the Ford Mustang and the racing stripe that they would put on those. And then they have a throwback jersey that they call the Classic, and this is classic in the sense that they don't have much branding on it. Like it's pretty much a plain jersey with silver numbers, and even the pants are pretty plain. Like they don't have a stripe on those.
Well, there's nothing on the helmet either.
It's kind of going back to when they played and still had leather helmets.
I see.
So they're kind of paying homage to that, and they didn't want to put a logo on the helmet because back then, you know, it was just plain leather.
It's kind of good to do that, because then if there's people that just want a more classic look versus people that want a newer branded look, then they could go either way.
So yeah, that's kind of it for their uniforms there. I want to rank these at an 8.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of the imagery and kind of like symbolism to the jerseys are really cool.
I'm probably gonna go the opposite direction. I think I'm gonna give it a 4.
Wow, 4.
Yeah.
With the Mustang racing stripes, huh?
Yeah, just because like marketing wise, I think it's great. Like the Classic, the 313, I think those are all cool. But I just don't see any graphic design elements in it that are like, okay, this is something that really a graphic designer put some effort into it.
I'm gonna split the difference because I do like the racing stripes. I think that's a very cool idea, and I do think they executed that very well, especially on the helmet. But other than that, yeah, I can't see a ton of like great things about the jerseys, so I'm gonna go with the 6.
Nice. Moving on to their culture. So one thing that's very interesting, and it's kind of crazy to say unique, but unique to the team, is they're the only team in the league that's been around for every Super Bowl and have never been.
Oh my
They've
goodness.
never played in a Super Bowl. They've never even lost a Super Bowl because they've never made it.
So, I mean, that's not the worst place to be in.
Which is kind of wild. For a team to be so bad, I don't want to say bad.
That just means they're like the ultimate underdogs.
Ultimate underdogs, for sure. One big part of their culture is kind of the One Pride saying, you know, again, tying back to the Lions. They do have a pretty sweet mascot. One thing that I thought was kind of different is it showed the mascot in kind of different countries. I thought the one where he was in Brazil was kind of cool because he's riding a skateboard. And then another big part of their culture is their current head coach. His name's Dan Campbell. He was actually on the team in like 2008 where they didn't win a single game.
Whoa. Yikes.
Ever since he's been the coach, every year the Lions have kind of gotten better.
Hey.
So he's kind of changing the culture of the Lions. He actually kind of brought up the grit as far as like them using that in their branding now, like all us, all grit, all fight. And I've seen a few interviews with him and he just seems like a super solid dude. And it seems like somebody like the Lions absolutely needed, especially to kind of turn this like losing history around. And I kind of have a feeling that when they make it to the Super Bowl, he's probably going to be their head coach.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, too, where he's seen the Lions at their lowest. I mean, being a part of the team when they lost every single game.
Yeah.
And to, like, still want to come back.
I know, choosing to come back. And,
exactly.
I'd be like, sorry, guys.
I'm sure with them, like, getting better each year, that attendance is probably going to grow. And I bet the fan base is probably going to grow a little bit more, too. I mean, like, obviously, I'm more of an Eagles fan, but after learning about them last season and kind of seeing them do better, it does make you kind of want to root for them.
No, I would probably give their culture a 9. I really like this. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it definitely feels like something that's like growing and getting better. So I think at this point, I'm thinking closer to an 8. I bet, you know, if we were doing this like 4 years ago, we would probably be giving it a lot more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of cool to see them like, you know, getting a little bit stronger as a team.
Yeah, I like to see the, you know, teams growing. That's cool. The fans growing. The ticket sales are up. That's pretty.
13%.
Yeah, 13 whole percent. I think I'll go to 8. Yeah, 8 feels pretty solid number.
And I think a lot of like what culture they had before maybe has a more of a negative connotation, where like a lot of the newer culture that this new coach is bringing, and I'm sure a lot of the new fans are bringing, looked in a lot better of a light than their older stuff. They are creating like this new culture and almost forgetting about the bad.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like we got the score coming in at an 85 out of 120, which is pretty good
Dang,
for the old
that's actually really good.
I know, yeah.
especially for some of the low scores they got. Like,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Up next, the San Francisco 49ers.
Nice.
This is my team. They became part of the NFL in 1946. That's their conception. So, you know, that's not, that's pretty old. But I mean, I'm sure, you know, you're familiar with their current logo.
Yep.
Got the floating SF with the ovals around it. Matt, this is a logo I said you would like.
That's pretty sick.
Well, it's because if you glance at it, it looks like he's farting. So this is kind of their first logo. And then 1968, they kind of updated it to pretty close to the current one, where it's got the floating SF, but this one's only in like an oval with one outline, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then 1996, obviously, it's kind of basically what it is now. The colors are just a little bit different. Looking into their stuff, it looked like they had a visual refresh. That's what they were calling it. Visual refresh.
Okay.
In May. Like, this is their profile picture for Instagram right now, is this.
If the refresh is going that direction, I don't like it because they still keep that 3D look.
Yes.
So all of the weights on it are all off.
Yeah, where the drop shadow would be just isn't there, but it still takes away from the logo. So yes, the spacing is different and it looks odd.
Yeah, the F is just cut off way more on the right side than it is on the inside of the left.
It does kind of have a vintage look to it, though.
As far as NFL logos, I'm gonna give this one a 5. There's also a lot of things that they could have done that would have been way cooler than just doing an SF.
What's interesting to me is, like, as far as a monogram goes, it doesn't intertwine anywhere. It's just the S sitting on top.
Yeah, they're just stacked.
Which for me is a little less cool.
Yeah.
So I'd probably give it like a 6.
Yeah, I'm definitely not in love with it. I think the idea of the serif font is cool. Leans more towards that vintage idea. I like the drop shadows.
Yeah.
I wish the drop shadows maybe were included somewhere else. I'm gonna go with a 5.
Pretty low.
Now we're into branding.
Okay.
So in this new visual refresh, they kind of introduced some new colors, so you got, you know, your heritage cream, which I actually think way cooler than just going like a stark white.
Yeah.
Having that cream in there. That also adds to that vintage feel too. I like the Montana red, but you can't guess who that's named after.
Oh, Montana.
So they also have this gold that they introduced. It's interesting because they use it as a gradient. It's not like a gold color.
Huh.
Anytime they use it, it is like a gradient.
Very cool.
Which is, yeah, obviously, you know, that calls back to the whole gold mine thing too. So they have this new like script font. I think they only ever use it to write out faithful, which we'll get into that in a minute. They use the 49ers with that saloon font again.
Yeah, I like the saloon font.
I like it too. I think it is very unique, but it also works with their branding. Like, it's not just something they're throwing out there because it's cool. Like, it actually works.
Kind of some weird areas, and this happens a lot with like a 3-dimensional type font, especially when you have a white outline. Like in the middle of the 4, you kind of have that little
that weird
thing
strange
that's
shape.
coming out.
They could easily fix
But-
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just get rid of them.
Yeah, this is kind of like, honestly, the only place I've seen this outside of this is on the jerseys where it's like embroidered. This is kind of just their branding in, so you can kind of see it. They also have the slab serif font that they kind of started using too, which I think is very nice. I love their colors. I think their colors work very well together.
No, so I'm gonna give this a 10 actually. I really like their branding.
I honestly want to give it a 10 too.
All right, well, I wanted to go high too, so I'll give it a 10 too.
Wow. All right. Solid 10s around for branding.
All right, on to uniforms. Yeah, they got 5 there, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
Starting from the left, they got their home, away, that new one. That's a new one. It's the rivalry ones. And then those other 2 are the throwback jerseys that are just kind of like supposed to be like their old ones.
Obviously, we all think that one's super dope.
Yep.
I just wish they did that across all of them.
Yep. I know.
I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly like that, but I wish they had that saloon font across all of them. Is there something cool what you guys would do for their helmets to make them look different? Maybe 49ers on one of them.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't use, because like you'll see it, they use 49ers on the jerseys.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the extent of it. Like, I'm surprised they don't use that more.
One thing I know that is cool about their helmets is they are like a shiny gold.
Yeah, they are the shiny
which is
gold.
pretty sweet.
However, yeah, there's just not a lot of uniqueness to each of the different jerseys, and that's what I'm kind of looking for in all of these jerseys.
Yeah.
What if they did like a gradient gold into a gradient black?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that would be so
Or like
cool.
a halftone fade in too, not even just like a straight gradient, like a dotted pattern.
Yeah, like that would be so cool.
Or have like a cool like pickaxe icon that
pickaxe,
goes across like
revolver.
the center, like along that stripe, or just something.
Hear me out. All right. I'd probably give it a 5, but with that rivalry jersey, I would bump it up to a 7.
Wow,
Nice.
that's pretty cool. I actually like the throwback ones quite a bit, more than I think I probably should. It feels like what their jerseys should be.
Okay.
With that kind of drop shadow on the number, and it just, obviously we already said that the rivalry one's our favorite one, so I'm probably gonna give it a 7 as well.
I was kind of leaning towards 7 too. I do really like their gold helmets. I know they're pretty simple, and I know it's like not my favorite logo, but something about like that all white throwback one with like the gold helmet.
That's true.
I think it's just really cool.
Yeah. So we're into culture. Yeah, Matt kind of already said the legendary catch. So this sent them to their first Super Bowl.
I've definitely seen this photo.
Yeah.
I heard you and Spencer talking about the catch, and I'm like, they don't have a photo that everybody's seen. And then now I'm seeing it, I'm like, yeah, okay, I've seen this.
That's it. Joe Montana is the one who threw the football. Dwight Clark is the one who caught the football. This is something I thought was really cool. It's kind of like the drums that you always get. They have a big old foghorn that they set off at the beginning of every home game. Oh yeah, they have, it's called 4-9 Day. I bet you can't guess where the numbers came from. So yeah, April 9th, it's kind of just the day that they celebrate being a 49ers fan. Just everything that the 49ers have done, what it stands for, that kind of thing. I said we're gonna get back to the faithful. Here it is. So this is actually what they call their fans, is the faithful. It's kind of like fans who've stuck around through the best of times and the worst of times. They're the faithful. And
very cool.
that's when they introduced this typeface, and I think it's really cool because it's like the fans have their own typeface now.
It gives me some like kind of baseball vibes a little bit to it.
So the reason they do the script font is because it's the like first known writings of like the Gold Rush and stuff were in this cursive font. As far as like their like fans go and loyalty, like Spencer and I were kind of talking about this. Like, as far as like miles traveled, like how far the team is willing to go for their for the audience is willing to go for their team. The only team that beats them is the Raiders. They're like one of the most loyal teams out there. Spencer was also telling me that when you go to San Francisco, like you know that you're in 49er territory. So yeah, that's kind of it for the culture.
I want to rate the culture around a 7 again. I think there's a lot of like really good things, but nothing that necessarily stands out too much to me, I guess.
I'm gonna give it an 8. I like it a lot.
I think honestly the typeface, the faithful, like that's my favorite part of it. I think that's so cool. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go a 9 as well.
Nobody did 9.
Yep. Didn't
I did an 8.
Oh, my bad. I'm gonna give it a 9. We just added up the scores and they got a 91 out of 120.
Wow, that's actually pretty high. That's pretty good.
there.
The Seattle Seahawks.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
ready.
All right.
The birthplace of grunge.
This is their original logo, 1976. Their logo is based off of a tribal art.
Yeah, you can definitely see that.
Then they updated their logo 3 times after that. The only things they changed were the colors. So they changed the blue to a gray, and they changed the green to a brighter green. I definitely like how they changed it from being like cut off on the end to it kind of like swooping up a little bit. But yeah, what would you guys rank this logo?
It's pretty iconic for sure. I definitely see it everywhere. I do wish just the amount of detail that's kind of in like the beak and the eye was kind of more throughout the rest of it, you know? Like you kind of get to the end of it and it's just these 2 blocks. I'm not 100% sure how they add detail, maybe some kind of feather line or something, you know?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 7.
7? Okay. I'm gonna give this logo an 8. I liked it more than the 49ers and the Lions.
Yeah, it's...
Man, I'm having a hard time with this one. It is cool that it has some kind of like culture, like representation behind it. I think that like adds points for me. But I've never really like looked at it like this much in detail, and I feel like I remember it looking a lot different, which is
really?
kind of interesting. Like now that I'm kind of analyzing it a little bit more, it just feels different. Like I have a different feeling looking at it. I don't really know how to describe these feelings, but I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay, yeah, very unique logo. I think it represents the culture of the art very well.
Yeah, and I think what it is like seeing it in the past, you know, just glancing at it, it felt more of like just like a mascot logo, kind of like the Eagles, but like kind of like looking at it a little bit more in depth, you do see a lot of that kind of art influence like through the logo, and it doesn't feel so much like a mascot logo, which I actually really like.
Branding, I think this is where I kind of get lost in it. Their branding, it's like 5 different colors, and I couldn't find anything online that gave me a structured branding guide, which makes it super, super difficult. I wish there was more information on it. I do like that they changed this duller green to a brighter green. I guess this is their throwback font that they had, and it's funny, it looks just like a normal type.
Reminds me of Cooper Black.
I knew that was coming.
And so I'm not a fan of it, to be honest. I think there's some other, I think your mind goes somewhere else when you see this font.
Definitely not a football
Like
team, no.
high school,
Yeah.
making a essay or writing an essay or something. I do like their more modern font. I do think the 49ers fonts are a lot cooler though. This is their branding guide from like 2000s. All right, so kind of old.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think how far we've come and how graphic design has become much better over the years. Because this is probably a branding guide. Like I was mentioning with the grays for the lines, you know, I think that they separate themselves having a silver color.
Yeah.
Right. When I was trying to put together these colors and make my own little branding guide, it was so difficult to have that gray and green used together. And when I was trying to think of a background color, you can't have any of those colors be a background color, because you'll lose the Seattle in the green, you'll lose the Seahawks in any of the blues, and then you lose the green in the gray too. So it's like you can't have a background color, you have to have a gradient of some sort.
I'd be curious to know how often they use kind of like the indigenous pattern, if you will. Like kind of like how you have on the background there. I'd be curious to know how much they lean into that.
They don't.
They don't?
Like at all. I think they
Yeah,
should lean
I
into
would.
it. The colors are kind of based off of like where they're at, and it's Emerald City. But I wish they would, lean into this more indigenous look. For the branding, like I'm gonna give it pretty low. I'm gonna give it a 3.
In my head, I had 4.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, I was probably gonna go with 3 too. I don't think any of it's very strong.
All right, moving on to their jerseys. I do like their jerseys.
Yeah, their jerseys
though.
are pretty sick.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Their rival jersey, super cool with the textures, cuts, and stuff, and how they're like super shiny.
Gradient on the helmet.
Yeah, the great.
The pattern down the side, yeah, they have 12 feathered textured down the sides of the pants, which make it really, really cool. And then they have the collar as well that have the 12, but super cool uniforms. I really like their uniforms.
Yeah,
That all green one is really cool.
So cool. Yeah, so cool. It's interesting how all of these teams feel like they stand out in one aspect of their brand.
of all
of them.
Yeah.
And they do really, really well. But yeah, based off of the uniforms, what would you guys rank the uniforms?
I think that their uniforms are pretty unique. I want to give it a 9.
Yeah, I'm gonna give the uniforms a 9 as well.
Yeah, I like the colors. I like that they kind of have just like the color blocking that's in the top of the jerseys. I think that's very
come
cool.
off the shoulder.
Yeah, I actually really like the throwback one too. I think those colors actually look really, really nice together. I'm gonna give it an 8.
All right,
Nice.
cool. Solid. All right, moving on to the culture. So before the Chiefs stole the world record for the loudest crowd, it was the Seahawks.
Oh, okay.
They had it before them. They have an interesting fact. There was a game where they had the highest, when they were playing the Jets at home, they had 11 false starts because the stadium was so loud and it was just throwing the Jets off, which is super cool. Their field is super unique. Apparently how it's shaped it makes it louder than a lot of the other stadiums. It's called Lumen Field.
So it's like an auditorium almost.
Yeah, Seattle was licensing the 12th man as part of their branding. However, Texas A&M won that phrase, so they had to change it to the 12s. And so the 12th man is in reference to the crowd. I feel like the Chiefs wanted to get the record, but I feel like Seattle Seahawks probably have more of a passion in being loud all the time. But they do really, really well at their games. A lot of people come to show up at their games. They've been selling out for a long time. One really random thing that is just all over the internet is this guy called Sea-Hulk, and he's a former bodybuilder that would show up to the games dressed up as, painted as Hulk.
Wow.
In my opinion, it's totally random. It makes no sense to the Seahawks at all.
Even got Shulky next to him too.
I think that's his wife, but yeah, she would paint him for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And he'd go to the games. But
It's nuts.
also, the number 12 for the Seahawks is retired. For the game, someone, typically a celebrity, would raise the 12th man flag in reference to the 12s. So super, super cool.
They need to get Sea-Hulk out there raising that flag.
Yeah, come on, dude.
I'm kind of leaning towards a 7. I feel like they have some really cool things. Like, I know in their rivalry jerseys, they had kind of like a sound texture, like kind of paying homage to the 12.
I think they got solid culture. I am with Matt. I think the Sea-Hulk thing is actually pretty sick. And the 12s thing, I think that's also a very like powerful thing that's good for the fans. You know, it's something that the fans all have together. I think that's very cool.
And it kind of makes them feel like they're part of the team.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Yeah, it's like they're a Seahawk. I think that's very
play a part in the outcome.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's cool.
So yeah, I'm leaning towards an 8.
All right. I'm going to give it a 7. I think Sea-Hulk is just random. Score of 81 out of 120. All right, not too great.
Not too bad.
That's a wrap today on today's teams. And please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for the next videos to come. Share it with your friends, all your Hulk friends.
We love you, Sea-Hulk.
He's not going to share it. You downgraded them.
Come back, Sea-Hulk. Don't listen to Kyler. He doesn't know.
Yeah, don't listen.